loves, and welcome back to another video. Today we are reading a Suna Rintarō. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. This was requested by Thapafalo Masibi. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, but that's what I could muster up. I'm sorry again. Also, I think this was requested by a couple other of you, and it was just on my list, so here we are. We're doing a Suna one because I know a lot of you have wanted me to do him for a while, and yeah, here we are. This is written by Koruzukin_5510 on Wattpad. I will leave the original link in the description below, so please go check that out and give them kudos. This is titled Truth or Dare, a Suna X reader, and without further ado, let's get into the video because I know this is going to take a long time. Backstory: YN Ellen is a second year at Inorizaki and friends with Atsumi, Osamu, and Suna along with the other team members. In her first year, YN attended Nekoma with her childhood friends Kuru and Kenma. She was a manager for the Nekoma volleyball team and got to know the Fukuradani team as well. She moved to Hyogo right after her first year because of her mom's job. In this book, YN and the Inorizaki volleyball team get invited to a training camp at Nekoma. YN reunited with her friends and plays a game that will reveal secrets and stir up drama. Chapter 1: Training Camp Chaos. YN's POV. We had just arrived at Nekoma for the training camp. I shook Osamu awake and made my way off the bus. As I stepped off the bus, I sighed and stretched my arms up. That was when I heard someone yell, "YN-chan!" I whipped my head around to see Kuru sprinting towards me with his arms open for a hug, and Kenma walking behind him, nose buried in his switch. As Kuru got closer, I stared at him, internally panicking. I hate physical contact, and Kuru was headed straight at me for a hug. Kuru was about 2 steps away from me when I grabbed the person behind me and pulled them so they could stand between me and Kuru. As I pulled the person, I heard a small protest, then a defeated sigh. I peeked around and said volleyball player to see Kuru, stopped dead in his tracks with a confused expression painted on his face. I watched as his face morphed from confusion to realization, and then finally to understanding. Kuru groaned. I totally forgot about that. I'm so sorry, Inan. I didn't mean to freak you out. Kuru said, voice raising with each word. Kuru, it's fine. I know you didn't mean to make me uncomfortable, I said as I stepped out from behind the tall player in front of me. Only did I then realize I had pulled Suna. Oh shit, I can't believe I did that. He's probably so uncomfortable right now. I mean, we're your friends, but we're not close enough for me to just grab him like that. What the hell was I thinking? Then Suna spoke up. Who the hell are you, and why are you trying to assault our manager? He spoke in a low, threatening voice that surprised me because I had never seen him like this. Kuru sputtered out. That's Kuru. We're childhood friends, and I was his team manager last year, I explained quickly. Suna's expression immediately softened and he muttered a quick goodbye before going to grab his bag from the bus. YN! Kuru whined. Why didn't you tell us you had a boyfriend? I was obviously very confused because never in my life had I been in a relationship with a girl or a boy. I blinked at Kuru for a minute before the realization kicked in. I'm not dating Suna, you dumbass cat, I screamed at him. The whole of Inorizaki volleyball team whipped their heads around to me and Kuru. I kept glaring at him right in the eyes. Wayne, can you help me with the bags, please? Kita asked, trying to ease the tension. I immediately wiped the glare off my face, replacing it with a blank expression, turning on my heel to head for the bus. Why did I get so upset at that? I never usually get upset at stuff like that. People always used to assume me and Kuru were dating, but I never minded much. Oh my god. I like Suna fucking Rintarō. Chapter 2: The Game Begins. Suna's POV. I walked over to the bus to grab my bag and head to the room the team was staying in when I heard YN scream, I am not dating Suna, you dumbass cat! What the hell is going on, and who is that Kuru dude anyway? He keeps making her uncomfortable and mad. I was about to walk out and intervene, but Kita beat me to it. Ryan, can you help me with these bags, please? She didn't respond, just turned on her heel and stomped over to the bus. She huffed and picked up 3 bags. Most of them were really heavy, so I was shocked to see her carrying that many. Ryan, here, let me help you out, I said while grabbing 2 of the bags out of her hands. Suna, no, I can do it on my own. Give them back, she said sternly. No, they're too heavy for you, and I'm gonna carry them, I said, just as stern. Just give 1 back, Ryan said with a hopeful tone in her voice. I spoke while I shouldered my backpack of abs into Ryan's hand. She mumbled something under her breath, but I didn't complain anymore and started walking towards the school. Ryan's POV. Time skip. Dinner had just finished up and me and the other managers were cleaning the cafeteria while the boys were bathing. It took about 30 minutes of combined effort for us to clean up the boys' giant mess. After thoroughly cleaning every inch of the cafeteria, we went to bathe and get ready for bed. On my way to the manager's room, I heard some people talking inside on one of the boys' rooms. Should we ask if they want to play? No, they're definitely going to say no. How do you know that? Okay. Why don't we just... The last voice was cut off by me knocking on the door. It slid open and revealed Bokuto and Akashi at the doorway. Ryan, I miss you so much. And Kuru said he saw you right when you got here, and he said that you have a boyfriend now. I think Kuru really jelly because he was from Bokuto-san, Akashi warned. Sorry, Bokuto murmured. It's okay, Bokuto-san. I think Ryan just needs a chance to talk also. Don't you agree? Akashi said in a calm and patient voice. I made eye contact with Bokuto and reassured him. It's okay, Bo. I like hearing you talk, but I would also like to answer your questions, he explained softly. Okay, Ryan-chan, Bokuto said excitedly. Alright, first of all, I do not have a boyfriend. Kuro made that up. And second of all, what are all of you doing here? I said, noticing the other players in the room. Oh, right, Ryan-chan, we're playing Truth or Dare. You wanna join? He said eagerly. Sure, just not too long, okay? I agreed. Okay, fine, he said, excited, grabbing my wrist and pulling me into the room. As I settled on the floor, I looked around at who was playing with us. I saw Daichi, Suga, Kageyama, Sugishima from Karasuno, Bokuto, Akashi, and Kono, Kuru, Kenma, Lev, Kai, and Yaku. Then I glanced to the other side of the room and spotted Atsumu, Osamu, Suna, and Aren. I looked up a bit farther to see Kida standing behind them with his arms crossed over his chest and a slight frown on his face. Kida-senpai, are you okay? I asked, a bit concerned. Yes, Ryan-chan, I am fine. However, these 3, he spoke in a threatening tone, won't be if they make any more stupid decisions. Hey, why isn't Aren included in this? Atsumu complained. Because he's more responsible and respectful. Kida hissed at him. I chuckled a little, then asked, Bo told me we were playing Truth or Dare, so who's first? Everyone turned their attention to me and I just blinked back. Oh, I'm starting? I said, a little more confused. Yes, Ryan-chan, you're starting the game, Akashi said. Okay, thanks, Kashi, I spoke. Okay, Truth or Dare? I'm gonna leave it off right here. Okay, I lied, here we are. Chapter 3, Bokuto Sleep Talks. This chapter contains mention of drugs, alcohol, and underage sex activities. There will also be explicit language, and there will also be some side ships, Daisuga, Bokutaka, and Tsuyama. Oh, okay. But yeah, anyways, let's get into the chapter, yeah? Okay. Ryan's POV. Okay, Truth or Dare? Suga, I say, excited. I guess I'll go with truth. Suga spoke, a little timid. Okay then. Oh, I got it. Have you kissed anyone in this room? I said with a small smirk, knowing damn well I caught him and Daichi making out in the gym this morning. Suga just smirked right back at me, then to my surprise, grabbed Daichi by the shirt collar and kissed him hard. Yep, I kiss Daichi all the time, he chirped happily. Wow, that is quite impressive if I do say so myself, I said, holding my hand out for a fist bump. Even though I have always hated physical contact, I never minded kissing people for fun or shock value. I actually do it quite often to get a reaction out of people. Daichi was 40 different shades of red, and he looked like his brain was melting out of his ears. Suga giggled a little, then clapped his hands together. Alright, my turn. Suga said with a devilish smile plastered on his angelic face. Akashi, truth or dare? A small sigh left Akashi's mouth before he answered. I will go with dare. Yay, I love giving dares, Suga squealed delightedly, accompanied with a tiny evil laugh. Alright, Akashi, I dare you to sit on Bakuto's lap for 5 rounds. I studied Akashi for a second, and to my shock I found a slight dust of pink on his cheeks, but other than that, he looked completely calm. Akashi cleared his throat, then spoke directly to Bokuto. If you're alright with that, Bokuto-san, I will accept the dare. Bokuto didn't answer verbally, he just violently shook his head yes, which made me and Suga release a small giggles into our hands. Akashi then shifted into his lap and Bokuto hesitantly circled his arm around Akashi and placed his head on the setter's shoulder. That's okay, Akashi, I heard him whisper into Akashi's ear. The setter just nodded in response and continued on with the game. Kenma-san, who do you dislike the most in this room? Akashi spoke with one eyebrow raised at Kenma. Kuru. He spoke immediately, and Kuru's head snapped to his younger friend. Then Kenma spoke again. On second thought, I would say Bokuto. He sleep talks. Kenma stated, and then went right back to his game. Kuru let out a sigh of relief and visibly relaxing while Bokuto was protesting strongly. I interrupted Bokuto's whining. Kenma, you need to ask someone else now, I reminded the blonde boy. He hummed in response and then said, Truth or dare, Kuru? Dare, Kuru said happily. Kenma hummed again, then sighed. Alright, I dare you to strip down into your boxers and run through the hallway 5 times. The setter deadpanned. Kuru's mouth dropped open in shock, and I started uncontrollably laughing. Kuru just shook his head a bit before standing up and pulling his pants off. When Kuru's pants were halfway down, a pair of hands slammed over my eyes and I squeaked in surprise. Then Kita spoke. You don't need to see naked boys right now. Kita, calm down. I've seen Kuru naked like 1,000 times, I said without actually processing what I said. Everyone in the room froze and looked at me, not that I could tell because Kita still had his hands on my eyes. You what now? Atsumu screamed. Ew, not like that, you pervs. Our moms are friends. We took baths together for years, I explained. You actually thought I would let him fuck me? Kuru snorted. What else were they supposed to think? Then I heard the door slide open and then shut, and Kita took his hands off my eyes. Sorry I freaked you all out so much, I apologized. It's fine, YN. It was quite entertaining, Tsukishima said with a smirk. Time skip. Kuru came back into the room, red-faced and panting. He walked towards his clothes and slipped them back on. He settled back on the floor and cleared his throat. Alright, my turn. YN, truth or dare? I eyed him carefully, but he looked just as stupid as he always did, so I sighed and pulled my knees to my chest and rested my hands on my knees. Truth. Kuru snickered a little before he announced my truth. Who did you blow behind the gym last year? Everyone's mouth dropped open except mine, Kuru's, Kenma's, and Yaku's. I just rolled my eyes at him and leaned back on my hands. Well, let's see, Kuru. Who could it have been? I wonder. I tapped my chin with my pointer finger, as if thinking. I'm pretty sure it was this nerd with the worst bedhead you've ever seen, and a terrible sense of humor. Also, he kinda looked like a rooster, but I could be wrong. I made direct eye contact with Kuru while I spoke. Chapter 4, Suki's Dilemma. Same warning, but from the other chapter. YN's POV. The room was dead silent, and everyone's eyes were locked on me. Kuru eyed me with a smirk and winked. Kenma looked up for about 0.3 seconds before going back to his game. I glanced around the room again, and my eyes landed on Suna. His usual, I don't care about anything, expression was nowhere to be found. His mouth was hanging open, his eyes were wide, and his eyebrows were scrunched together. Kuru, I will murder you right here for touching my precious innocent YN! Kita screamed in Kuru's direction while cracking his knuckles. I jumped up from my spot over to Kita and placed my hands on his shoulder, trying to calm him down, and whispering that I was okay and everything was consensual. Then Kuru fucked up. Again. I definitely would not call YN innocent. I mean, she knew exactly how to— I swear to God, if you say one more word, I will tell them what actually happened. And then call your mom and tell her about the time when I was 12 and you— I spoke in a warning tone. Kuru waved his hands around frantically, trying to get me to stop. Okay, fine, I'll shut up. but that was a low blow, Ryan. Yeah, whatever, I spoke, sitting back down. So you guys want that actual story, or should I just move on? Please, for the love of volleyball, move on, Kuru hurriedly exclaimed. Okay, moving on. Truth or dare, Tsukishima? I spoke, changing the subject. Dare, the boy deadpanned. Alright, text the last person you texted that you want them to come here and make out, I said eagerly. Tsukishima sighed and picked up his phone. Alright, did it. Who was it? Yamaguchi, he reluctantly said. Suga, Daichi, Kageyama, Kuru, and Bokudo all burst out laughing at this. Everyone else looked very confused as to why they would be laughing. Suga spoke up. Yamaguchi is his best friend, and he's in love with him. He spoke through giggles. At that, the rest of the group let out a couple of laughs. My eyes widened, and I frantically waved my arms around. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, It's fine, I need to tell him anyway. The blonde spoke in a monotone voice. I would have just preferred it in private, he said as his brows knitted together. Oh, well, you can go in the hall, I said, trying to better the situation. Tsukishima nodded, and then the door slammed open, revealing a tall boy with green hair and freckles. His face was beet red, and he was panting. His hair was mused, and sweat was bearing on his forehead. Suki, what the hell is going on? Tsukishima just stood up, grabbed the boy's wrist, and tugged him outside, while sliding the door into its place. Okay, I guess we have to wait then. Daichi finally broke the silence. Chapter 5, Yams is dead. Tsukishima's POV. After I shut the door behind us, I took a deep breath and turned to meet Tadashi's gaze. His eyes were wide and his cheeks were dusted red. He was still panting from running all the way here. I took a deep breath and... Is this a joke, Suki? 'Cause it's not funny to play with people's feelings. I mean, everyone said I was being obvious, but I thought you hadn't noticed yet. And then this, you do this. Yamaguchi was panting again, but it wasn't from running. I mean, I know you tease people, but I didn't think you were actually this. Tadashi, what are you talking about? I spoke, visibly confused. Well, you know, you noticed that I have a crush on you, and now you're playing a prank, right? The shorter boy stuttered out. What? No, absolutely not. I mean, it was for truth or dare, but Yamaguchi, I had no idea you felt like that. I'm glad you do though, 'cause that means I can do this. I stepped towards the green-haired boy and put one hand behind his head and the other hand on his waist and pulled him in. Our lips met, and I have never felt anything softer in my life. His lips were a bit chapped, yet they still felt very velvety and smooth. God, they were burning hot. After a couple of moments, I pulled away to see a wide-eyed and beet-red Yamaguchi. After a few more moments of silence, I finally spoke. You okay there? I have never been better, he said with a small smile. Okay, I'll be right back, I said while opening the door. All eyes turned to me, and then I announced, I'm done playing, I have better things to do. Then I slid the door shut and grabbed Tadashi's hand and set out to find a makeout spot. Oyen's POV. After Tsukishima had pulled the green-haired pinch server out of the room, I saw someone sit next to me. I turned my head, and to my surprise saw Suna looking right back at me. Hey, he said in almost a whisper. Hi there, I whispered back. He eyed me, and then said, So, you and Kuru? What? Oh my god, no, Suna, ew, why would you say that? Well, I mean, you did suck his... If you want to live another day, you will not utter another word about that, I said in a warning tone. Fine, I won't. Anyway, why do you agree to play this stupid game? He spoke softly. Well, Bo asked me, and I haven't hung out with him in forever, so I kinda had to, I said, shrugging. I'm glad you played, he said, and winked at me. Wait, I got cut off. I'm done playing. I have better things to do, Tsukishima said before shutting the door. Okay, what now? Daichi asked. Well, it's getting pretty late, Akashi started. We should play Never Have I Ever, Bokudo said eagerly. Most people nodded in agreement, and Suga told everyone the rules. Then Atsumi went to his room to get a surprise, so we started without him. Okay, never have I ever had a crush on someone in this room, Kenna mumbled. Chapter 6, Everyone is Exposed. Wayan's POV. Never have I ever had a crush on a person in this room, Kenma mumbled out. I lowered my finger, and so did Daichi, Suga, Atsumu, Suna, Kuru, Bokuto, and Akashi. Atsumu whipped his head around wildly, then whispered, "Who the hell is Suna crushing on?" "None of your business, Sumu," Suna stated coldly. "Wait, Atsumu, who do you have a crush on?" I asked, very visibly confused. "You, obviously. Who else would it be?" he stated. My jaw dropped, and my eyes were popping out of my head. "Huh?" I said eloquently. "Yeah, right when you came to Inurizaki, but it only lasted like 2 weeks," Atsumu said nonchalantly. "What? Why didn't you tell me?" I whined out. He raised his eyebrow at me. "Would you have said yes?" "Well, no, but that isn't the point here," I said with an eye roll. "Then what is the point, Wayan?" Atsumu spoke, making direct eye contact with me. I'll get back to that. Can we please just move on?" I begged. "Fine, okay." "Never have I ever gotten drunk," Atsumu said, pointing at Suna, who gave a blank stare. Me, Suga, Daichi, Kageyama, Osamu, Aaron, Kuru, and Bokuto put their fingers down. "Wayan, when the hell did you get drunk without me?" Kuru yelled. Well, the middle of last year, me, Bokuto got drunk and played the twister on the roof of his school," I said, rubbing the back of my neck with a sheepish smile painted on my face. "Bokuto, how could you?" Kuru yelled again. "I'm sorry, Kuru bro. Akashi wouldn't do it, but Wayan agreed, and I forgot to invite you." Bokuto spoke, wringing his hands and looking down at his lap. "I can't believe you two," Kuru spoke, shaking his head and squinting his eyes at us. "Okay, we get it. I'm sorry," I said without a hint of sincerity. Kuru just sighed and rubbed his temples. Then Kageyama spoke up. "Never have I ever kissed anyone." Again, me, Bokuto, Akashi, Suga, Daichi, Kuru, Kenma, Atsumu, Suna, and Aaron put their fingers down. "Kenma, who the hell did you kiss?" I almost yelled. He looked up from his phone and spoke a single word. "Kuru." Everyone's eyes snapped to Kenma, and he resumed playing his game. I looked over to Kuru, and he was blushing furiously. Akashi cleared his throat. "We'll be moving on. Never have I ever failed a test." "Akashi, that's so boring," Bokuto whined at his setter. "My apologies, Bokuto-san," Akashi said with a straight face. Chapter 7, Sleepy Time, Wayan's POV. Atsumu, Kageyama, Suna, Osamu, Aaron, Daichi, Bokuto, Kuru, and Kenma put their fingers down. "Wow, just me and you, huh, Akashi?" I spoke, looking towards the setter. He hummed in response, and Atsumu stared wide-eyed at me. "Wayan, no way you've never failed." "Yeah, I've never gotten less than a 90% on my exam. I'm very good at studying," I responded calmly. Atsumu's jaw dropped, and most of the boys in the circle looked quite shocked. Kenma spoke up. "Why are you all surprised? She's one of the smartest people I know." "Yeah, I remember Kuru told me she used to beat him at chess and tic-tac-toe every time they played as kids," Bokuto said excitedly. "Bokuto, that was a secret," Kuru said, obviously embarrassed. I let out a small giggle. "One time I beat him 14 times in a row in tic-tac-toe, and he cried 3 hours that I was cheating." Most of everybody in the circle burst out laughing. That's when Suna spoke up. "Never have I ever kissed someone in this room." Me, Kuru, Kenma, Bokuto, Akashi, Suga, Daichi, and Osamu put their fingers down. Wait, who in the hell did you kiss, Osamu?" Atsumu said, looking bewildered. "Wayan," he responded without hesitation. "What?" several people shouted. "Guys, chill out. We were playing Truth or Dare at a party. It's really not a big deal. It was totally platonic," I said, turning to Osamu and giving him a fist bump. I looked to my other side and saw Suna with his brows furrowed and a small frown. Atsumu cleared his throat. "Okay, well, never ever gotten high." Suna, Osama, Suga, Kuru, Bokuto, Akashi, Daichi, and Kageyama all put their fingers down. "Wayan, you've never gotten high?" Osama asked. "Nope, I don't really want to do it at parties because I know how I'd react to it," I shrugged. Suna leaned in close enough that I could feel his breath on my ear and my neck. "I could change that right now, you know." He spoke, his voice low and gravelly. My eyes widened and I felt heat rise to my cheeks, but I turned to look at him in the eye and nodded. "Sounds like a plan," I whispered back. "Never have I ever confessed to someone," Bokuto said proudly, puffing out his chest. I furrowed my brows. "Bo, didn't you confess to Akashi?" "Nope, he confessed to me and asked me out," he said with a smug expression. Everyone in the circle nodded to that, then started putting their fingers down. Akashi, Kuru, Suga, Arin, and Natsumu put their fingers down. "Kuru, who did you confess to?" Daichi asked, visibly confused. I watched him dart his eyes towards Kenma, who quirked a brow at him. Then he shrugged and responded, "No one, it's not important." A small smile made its way onto my face. Even though Kuru hadn't actually said who it was obvious. It was also obvious how the blonde had responded to said confession. I let out a small yawn and took out my phone to check the time while the boys continued to question Kuru. 11:47, the phone read. Then I felt heat next to me and looked over to see Suna hovering slightly away from my face. "Are you tired? You want me to walk you back to your room?" I nodded to both questions and he proceeded to stand up and offer me his hand. I mumbled a thanks and he told the group he would walk back. Osamu said something to Suna and I couldn't quite make out, but then he blushed. Suna freaking Rintarō blushed. What the hell was going on? Chapter 8, Osamu's an ass. Suna's POV. After I told the group I was walking Wine back to her room, Osamu stopped me on my way to the door and whispered, "Make sure you use protection. You really aren't ready for kids, man." I just scoffed at him and walked out the door, Wine trailing behind me. We made small talk on the way to her room before she asked me, "Hey Suna, who's the person you have a crush on?" Oh god, she looked so cute when she looked up at me. "Shut up, Suna, answer the damn question." "Why do you want to know?" I responded calmly with a small smirk. "Oh, well, I guess I thought I could help you out, you know?" she said, looking at her feet. I think I got it under control." I inwardly sighed and relieved a breath. She didn't know it was her. Thank God. She looked up with a bitter smile and sighed softly. "Alright, I won't make you tell me, but if you do end up needing help, I'll always be here for you." A small smile made its way onto my face, and I resumed walking, Wyan trailing behind me once again. We started up our small talk once more and walked side by side, hands occasionally brushing. Even though she pulled away every time, it was still nice. Wyan's POV. When we made it to my room, I sighed in disappointment. We had arrived way too fast, in my opinion. The way Suna had responded to my question kept playing in my mind. "It's someone else, Wyan. He doesn't see you that way. Stop getting your hopes up. You don't deserve him. He's too good for you. You're not enough. Why would he ever want you?" As we finally stepped in front of my door, my eyes had begun to sting and my throat felt like it was closing up. I vaguely heard him call my name, but I kept my mouth shut and my eyes glued to the floor. If he saw me crying, he would ask what was wrong. Then I would have to come up with a good excuse, or just straight up confess. I did not like either of those options, so I'll choose the third one. Run the hell away. And that's exactly what I did. I glanced up at Suna for a second before bolting away in search of somewhere to hide and cry. I could hear Suna running behind me, and I knew he would catch me soon. After all, he is an amazing athlete and has long legs, so what do you expect? That's when I saw it, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my entire existence, the girls' restroom. I immediately turned and ran straight for it. I quickly made my way to the bathroom before slamming the door shut and sinking down to the floor. I pulled my knees up to my chest, laid my head to the rest on my knees, and folded my arms around my head. That's when I let the tears finally fall. Then I heard loud bangs on the door and pleading voices call from outside. "Wyan, please tell me what happened. I'm sorry if I said something to upset." "Suna, just go away. I'm fine," I screamed through the door. I heard a sigh of frustration and then quietly, "Wyan, I'm not leaving until you come out." I will wait all night. I ignored him and hugged my knees tighter to my chest and continued to cry into my knees. After about 10 minutes of sobbing onto my legs, I stood and made my way to the sink. I looked in the mirror to see the red-rimmed eyes and tear-stained cheeks. I washed and dried my face and hands before taking a deep breath to try and compose myself. Then I slowly made my way to the bathroom door and turned the knob. Chapter 9, Crying in the Bathroom. Wyan's POV. I turned the knob of the bathroom door slowly. I stood still for a moment, focusing on my breathing before opening the door. Suna sighed in what I think was relief when he saw the door open. Wyan, what happened? Suna finally broke the silence. After a moment of silence and me staring at my feet, he spoke again. Did I do this? Did I make you cry? That's when I looked up and let out a shocked gasp. His hands were shaking and his eyes were like mine a moment earlier, staring at his feet. I finally broke out of my trance and grabbed both of his hands. He looked up at me and opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. You didn't do anything, I promise. It wasn't you. I overreacted, and you don't have to worry about it. Promise. I lowered my gaze to our joined hands while he spoke. You can tell me. I know that I'm not really good at feelings and stuff, and I know I'm not your favorite person, but I smacked my hand against his mouth before he could finish that horrible sentence. I looked at him in the eyes, and he visibly flinched. That's when I realized I probably looked furious. I sighed and relaxed my face before speaking. The problem is that you are my favorite person, Suna. I like you a lot, and I know you don't feel that way, and that's okay. I'm fine being friends. As I spoke, I looked back to my toes, becoming more nervous again. It's just when you're talking about that person that you actually like, it got too much, and I needed to escape for a bit. I took a deep breath after my rambling and looked back up at him and took my hand off of his mouth. He didn't speak for a minute, and my worry level increased with each one that passed. Finally, I got the hint and spoke up. It's okay, Suna. I'll just go. I got cut off by Suna yanking me by my arm into a bone-crushing hug. He didn't say anything, just buried himself in my hair and breathed heavily. I could feel his heartbeat, and it was almost faster than mine was. I could also feel something wet on my neck. What the hell was that? Oh, it's tears. Is he crying? I leaned my head back and took a good look at him, and to my horror, he was. His cheeks were stained and his eyes red-rimmed. Suna, I'm sorry, I didn't
Shut
mean
up,
to.
Wyan. Just shush for a second so I can form a coherent sentence, please.
He said in a hoarse whisper. Okay, I mumbled before resting my head back onto his chest. He nuzzled his face back into my hair and took more deep breaths. We stood in silence for what felt like hours, but was probably only around 5 minutes. Then he pulled back a bit, but not enough to break the embrace. He looked down at me, and a smile broke over his usual blank expression. Wyan, I didn't think that you I can't. He trailed off a bit before he sighed, shook his head, and continued going on. I was sure that you didn't like me back, and I just didn't want you to completely ignore me. That's why I didn't say anything sooner. When I learned about you and crew, I needed to say something. He took another deep breath and scrubbed his face before returning his hand to my hair. Suna, just let me finish, I'm almost done. I was gonna tell you after I walked you back, but then he just ran off, and I thought you knew and you hated me for it, or I made you uncomfortable. I know it sounds really stupid. He shook his head again and sighed. I just like you a lot. My jaw dropped halfway through his speech, and it hadn't moved since. Then I blinked myself back to reality, and a grin immediately made its way onto my face. I pressed myself back into Suna's chest, and he snaked his arms around me. I sighed against his heart and then spoke up. God, I was so worried, but I'm so happy you returned my feelings. He squeezed me a little harder after that. After a moment of silence, he asked, "Can I kiss you then?" "Please do." My sentence got cut off by Suna pressing his lips into mine. It was a clumsy first kiss. Then our lips slotted together, and we fell into a natural rhythm. I pulled away after a few moments to catch my breath, and Suna pulled me back into a hug. He nuzzled my neck and stroked my hair. "Does that mean I can call you my girlfriend now?" he whispered into my neck. I shivered at the feeling of his breath on my neck before responding. "Of course." He pulled back and smiled at me before lacing our hands together and pulling me back into the direction of the boys' room. Final chapter, Chapter 10. Kuru shits his pants. Oh, okay. Hawaiian's POV. After lacing our hands together, he pulled me along while sprinting for the boys' rooms. I almost tripped over my own feet about 100 times, but we finally came to a stop in front of a door. It took me a second to realize that it was the room we just played Truth or Dare in. "I want to tell them," Suna stated, staring at the door. "Tell them what?" I asked, confusion written all over my face. He looked down at me. "That you're mine." My mouth dropped and opened and my eyes were wide. I blinked at him a couple of times before shutting my mouth and nodding. He slid the door open and all eyes went to us. "What are you guys doing back here?" Suga questioned. "I have something to say," Suna spoke in a monotone. "Okay, what is it?" Kuru asked suspiciously. "Wine is mine," he stated simply. Most people were shocked at the announcement, but Atsumu and Osamu just stared for a minute before simultaneously breathing out a sigh of relief. "Thank God, I couldn't stand it any more sexual tension," Atsumu said dramatically. I huffed. There wasn't any sexual tension. Most of the boys looked at me with that look that said, "How oblivious are you?" I just shook my head and squeezed Suna's hand. He looked down at me and furrowed his brows. I giggled a little and looked back towards the group in front of me. Everyone was silent, staring at us, looking in deep thought. Then Kuru interrupted the silence. "What the hell?" My eyes widened and I flinched a bit at his volume. I took a step back towards the door and Suna looked back at me, concerned etched on his face. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I just nodded at him before Kuru spoke again. "Oh my God, I totally called this." He paused and looked at Bokuto. "You owe me 500 yen. Bokuto looked around, alarmed, and then realization spread across his face. "Oh shit," he muttered. I cleared my throat and eyes made back over to where me and Suna were standing. "If that's all, I would like to sleep now," I spoke while turning to look at Suna once again. He gave me a small smile before tugging me out the room. I waved a goodbye over my shoulder and caught up to him. We held hands and made small talk on the way back to my room. When we got to the door, Suna tightened his grip on my hand. I stared down at our hands intertwined in confusion for a moment before I realized what he was trying to say. "Do you want to cuddle?" I said in a teasing tone. He huffed out annoyed, breathed and turned his head away from me. I still caught the blush on his face. "Come on, you big wimp," I teased, pulling him inside. He looked around the room for a moment before walking to the bed and taking a seat. How do you cuddle?" he asked shyly. I giggled a bit before making my way over to him and laying down. I patted the spot next to me and he complied and lied down. I turned my back to him and he scooted back until my back was pressed against his chest. I felt him slightly flinch as we made contact, but he quickly relaxed. I reached behind me and found his hand before pulling it over my waist and holding his hand in both of mine. He snaked the other arm around me and pulled me tighter into his chest. I could feel his heartbeat and his breath fanning across my nape. "Is this okay?" I asked hesitantly. He breathed in deep before responding. "Absolutely perfect." A grin spread across my face and I snuggled into the warmth of the bed. As I started to drift off, I felt something press against my head. Oh, he kissed me, I thought. I smiled again and drifted off to sleep. Okay, so that concludes the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed. The original link for the fanfiction will be in the description below, so please go check it out. This story did take 2 days to make and upload, so please give it a huge like if you did like this, or even if you sat through this whole thing. I did make a lot of mistakes, as most humans do. I mean, I am human. So if you would like to listen to the funny mistakes, I put them at the end of this video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye, loves! Kuru's mouth dropped and damn, Bada Atsumu I cannot say these names. And turning on my hair. My eyes widened and I felt Akashi said with a straight face. And Akashi really didn't give a fuck. Damn it, there is another ad. Oh. You know, ads are my worst enemy. Sometimes, you know, I could sit here and just talk about how ads are the most annoying thing in the human. I immediately wiped the I blinked at Kuru for a minute before realizing and kicked him. I'm not dating Suma, you. Oh. Suma. Backstory: Wyan Ellen is a second year in the Oh shit. Keats asked, trying to ease the tension. But is it supposed to be Kita? Wait. Kita? Okay, we're gonna say Kita.